Okay, all right, we're going to call to order the February 5th, 2026 Corcoran Planning Commission agenda. We'll begin with roll call. Commissioner Lind. Here. Commissioner Hargreaves.
Here.
And Commissioner Brummond are here. And we will note that two commissioners are not able to join us tonight. And at this time, I would like to invite you to stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and then the first thing, or next thing on the agenda is approval of tonight's agenda. And that is only if staff and commissioners don't have any changes. Perfect. Then if my fellow commissioners don't have any changes, then I will make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, and then we're gonna make space for the open forum, and this is a part of the agenda where we allow the public to address the Planning Commission on any item that is, or any issue that's not on tonight's agenda. So if there's something that you just wanted to bring to our attention and haven't had the opportunity, now is the time to do that. Is there anyone here who, we only take comments in person, we don't do them online anymore, so that's why I'm asking, is there anyone here who wants to make, speak during open forum? Okay, if not, we will move on to the minutes. And this is, these are the minutes from January 6th. 2026. That's my only comment, is it still says January 6th, 2025. The date is incorrect. But that was my only comment. Otherwise, everything else, unless...
No other comments.
Okay, and so then, does anyone make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We can second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? Okay, and that brings us to the first item on tonight's agenda, which is the site plan for St. Teresa of Corcoran Phase 2. And we're going to begin this with a staff report.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. Madam Chair, Commissioners, excuse me. This is St. Teresa, just south of us here. The original Phase 1 was approved in 2021 and is currently operating today. This site plan was shown in the original development as a future phase, but no approvals were specifically granted. The existing site had a variance for the number of trees and shrubs on site, but that was specific to Phase 1, so we'll talk about that. The applicant is requesting approval for site plan of the existing facility in the downtown mixed-use district. It's a very similar building to what you see today for the independent living, and then between the independent living that exists today and this building is a two-story common space with a green roof and shared space. The underground parking will connect under that shared space from the existing building under the shared space into this new apartment complex. That looks better on my screen than up there, but this is the master plan for the site. So again, City Center is right up here. This is City Center Drive. City Center Drive wrapping around here to the existing building. And this is 116 over here on the other side of the Lineal Park. So this is the new Phase 2 that we're talking about this evening. The existing driveway that leads back to the chapel is here, so that won't change. This is just going in that green space between the existing building here and that driveway. This image provides a little more clarity. Again, the existing building wing here, the existing driveway here. Here's the new living space and the new common area here. So there will be an access to 79th Street on the south, shared access throughout the building, and a garage door leading to the garage in this area on the north side of the building. This image shows a little better some of the green space over the common area here, so there's some outside recreation space on that green roof that would be available to the residents. The site will require new landscaping based on the 31 new residential units and the common area. It requires a total of 56 trees and 83 shrubs. And the plan does comply with the number of shrubs, but not trees. There's an additional 25 trees required that simply cannot fit on this site. It's an urban area, and so the landscaping is tight. What the code allows is landscaping to be placed elsewhere on city property, or for the applicant to pay a cash fee based on the cost of installation of materials. So I want to come back to that a little later, but those are the two options to address the landscaping. And that's by right, that's not a variance, that's not a CUP, that's just by right. Park dedication is due for the new development, $125,240 in park dedication. And when we initially met with the applicant about this addition, one of the things they asked about is when is the city going to improve this portion of Linear Park? Our residents like to walk, and it would be really nice to have a loop there. They've also indicated a desire to use a portion of this lineal park for construction staging. They did that with phase 1, and they would like to do that again for the second phase. In order to use that space, they would enter into a contract with the city, and we would charge a rental fee for that. We need to define how much of that space they're going to use to determine that fee, but that would be something that the council would approve as part of the development contract. When the applicant talked about this lineal trail, we did meet with the Parks and Trails Commission, and we talked about, what are your park improvement priorities for different parks beyond the ones we're already working on. And they did suggest that they would be open to having the developer make improvements to that park, meaning grade the park, build the 8-foot trail, provide landscaping, and put together a plan for city approval, and then use those fees that would otherwise come to fit in our park budget, use that equivalent cost to construct those improvements. So that could include also the rental fees could be incorporated into that to get the most improvement in that lineal park. That's really a policy issue for the council, but I think Planning Commission may want to weigh in on that idea. Additionally, those 25 trees that we talked about that can't fit on this site could very easily be part of a park improvement in that portion. The site plan complies with all code requirements, with a couple of things related to landscaping discussed, and is consistent with the original concept plan. The landscaping that needs to be either placed off-site or a fee paid is an issue. The rental of the city parkland as a construction staging area is an issue that needs to be addressed. And I think that's something the commission may want to talk about, is the use of those 3 items on this site. But in terms of they're sort of separate. I want to be clear, those are separate from the site plan approval. Those are policy issues for the council. But because it's such an important part of the project in this downtown mixed-use area, I think it's important for the Planning Commission to weigh in as well. So with that, we recommend approval of the draft resolution approving the site plan with the findings and conditions in the draft resolution. I'm happy to answer any questions. It's not a public hearing, but the applicant is here tonight as well.
Thank you, Kendra. Okay. So, do you guys feel like you have questions that you'd like to run by the developer, or you would like to hear something, or would you want to just move into recommendation or discussion?
I think it'd be great to hear from them, but
Do you have specific questions?
No.
Okay. Do you feel like you have a summary that you would like to add as the applicant that is different than what has already been presented in the staff report?
you don't have to.
Yeah, seriously, if it, because we don't
It's just an
need to-
opportunity if you wanted to.
Okay. If there's any specific questions, we will be sure to ask. Thank you for being here. Does someone want to begin with comments or questions?
Yeah, I did have I'll kick off the first question. How about that? Kendra, a question for you around the 8-foot off-road trail. Would it be your understanding that, I know it's early, it sounds like it's early concept, so not sure, but would the idea be that it would connect to other future park systems so that it's more geared towards public use rather than just exclusively for St. Therese residents?
That is a great question. Thank you, Commissioner. I should have been clearer, and I realized maybe my packet could have had a better image in it. Yes, the lineal park will extend from where we are today at City Hall, at City Center Drive, south of 10 to Larkin Road, and that's part of about a 180-foot wide lineal park space that was developed as part of the Southeast District Plan initially back in 2004, and we did some updates in 2015 and 2019. The idea of that plan is to make more of a walkable downtown, so it's not a sidewalk, but it's more than the on-road trail planned on 160. So this would be a city lineal park that would have a trail that winds from City Center Drive down to Larkin. And the idea in the initial Southeast District Plan was to maybe have some, ultimately, benches, maybe some wayfinding, could be history of Corcoran kinds of things. Parks and Trails Commission has not done that design yet, but they felt like if there was an opportunity, since the applicant is mobilized on site, if they have an interest in doing that, we could have them do this section, and then as property to the south develops, ultimately that trail would connect. And certainly the city could, over time, make improvements to that park. More benches, more wayfinding, those kinds of things. But yes, for now, it would really be a loop around St. Therese.
Right.
Because that's where the sidewalks are on City Center Drive and 79th, but ultimately it would go down to Larkin Road.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment to the developer, just indicating that I like the orientation of the addition, because it's really only two, from my understanding on the plans, it's really only two buildings on the first two floors that will face another building. So I appreciate that. Just the windows of the other units looking out won't be looking out, it's not running linear. So I wanted to make a note of appreciation for that design. And then I just had a question, and I guess this is just a question for Kendra. I noticed that there is, with the addition of the underground parking, but there isn't any addition of any exterior parking spots. And so is that because what is on site already fulfills a requirement?
It does. The parking requirement is met by the underground parking. We talked about that with the applicant early on. They feel like functionally they have plenty of space, and it does meet the code.
Okay. And then, in regards to the park, I think it's a great, I think it's a creative solution. So I am a fan of taking that. I guess this is a policy question, not specifically related to this, but I've noticed that it is a really high landscaping ratio to the square footage. And this is a high density area, so I guess I get the feeling that that a lot of sites within here are not going to be able to have the tree requirements. Okay.
I think that's accurate. It came up with the first phase of St. Therese, and you've seen our list of ordinance updates that are on our wish list, and I think we did acknowledge that it might warrant some review in the downtown mixed-use area where we have more dense development to revisit that, but that has not occurred. So in the downtown, without revision to the code, it's the same landscape standard across the city.
Yes. Okay. Well, I like the idea. The other recommendation was, I know we had to take down a number of destroyed ash trees from the emerald ash borer in City Park. So that was going to actually be before, sort of when I heard about it not being able to make it, that was going to be another suggestion. So, but I like the idea of creating this, because I feel like it would fulfill something that it sounds like your residents are also asking for. So then it feels like it's a win all around. in terms of what that looks like, I don't think that there's anything, it's just a linear park. I guess the question would be, is the intent of the park to be motorized or just bike and pedestrian?
Bike and pedestrian.
Just bike and pedestrian, okay. That's all I had. So, do you have any questions, Commissioner Hargrave?
Nope.
Okay, at this point in time, then, I am ready to go ahead and make a recommendation for approval, of the St. Therese.
I second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And anyone opposed? Okay, so that recommendation will go forward up to council. Thank you so much, appreciate it. And then we're gonna do our next, agenda item, which is the MJ Creekside variance request. And we'll have a staff report as well from Dwight.
That's right. Thank
All
you,
right.
Madam Chair. Yes, item 6B tonight is the M&J Creekside Vineyard variance. This is a request from Margaret and John Fernandez, who are requesting approval of a variance which would allow an existing structure to remain within the minimum setback area of the Shoreland Overlay District. So some background, the subject property is located at 23020 County Road 30. This is a 7.76 acre site comprised of 2 parcels that the applicants are intending to combine into a singular parcel in the near future here. The zoning of the property is rural residential, as is the surrounding properties. And then the subject property and the surrounding properties are all guided rural/ag residential. The property does contain a portion of Rush Creek that flows through the middle of it a little bit, and then a large amount of mature tree coverage around the north, west, and south sides of the property. And the property is located outside of the MUSA. So for some background, in 2015, the city approved a building permit for a 978 square foot pole barn. Going through the file, the site plan that was included within that building permit file indicated that the barn's location would be behind the house. And because of that proposed location, it didn't require an as-built survey, which would have been the best mechanism for identifying any sort of discrepancies on the location of where the barn would be constructed. So after the barn was constructed in the side yard rather than the rear yard, the building inspector went out to the site and verified that the structure met all the applicable building code requirements, that the location, reviewing the location of the structure was outside of the scope of that inspection. So that's where there was some discrepancy between what was shown on that site plan and what was actually constructed. So, and then lastly, the current owners purchased the property after this barn was constructed. They purchased it in 2019. And then last year, 2025, the city approved an interim use permit and a site plan for the M&J Creekside Vineyard, which was an agribusiness for a vineyard and a wine tasting room that I'm sure we all remember. And this, as part of these approvals, there was a condition that the non-compliant pole barn either be removed, relocated, or apply for an after-the-fact variance. And so, going through some of those options, the applicants have stated that the pole barn is going to be important for the storage of equipment and materials related to their winery, and alternate locations would require removal of established vines on the property, and due to some of the site conditions, there aren't many feasible locations for those vineyards to be relocated, so they've decided to proceed with the variance request. So tonight, the item to be considered is a variance. So just an overview of the city's discretion. The city does have more discretion for approval of variances than they do other land use applications, and the burden of proof is on the applicant to demonstrate that the hardships meet the variance standards of the zoning ordinance. And so, without going through the entire list of what that criteria is, I have it on this page here, and it's outlined further in the staff report, but there's 6 criteria that all need to be met in order for a variance to be approved by the city. And so to summarize the materials that the applicants have provided in staff's analysis, the existing pole barn was constructed prior to the applicant's purchase of the property, so this isn't a condition that was brought on by the applicant, but by a previous owner, and that there are practical difficulties in relocating the structure. As I said before, it would require removal of established vines that cannot be reasonably relocated and established elsewhere on the property. The structure has existed for over a decade, so staff finds that continued use of this structure and having it remain in the same location wouldn't alter the essential character of the locality as it's already an existing structure. And the granting of this variance is in harmony with the general purposes and intent of this ordinance, and it is consistent with the uses anticipated for the rural residential zoning district. And so the city does have an option to add on additional conditions of approval to mitigate any sort of impacts to the variance. So staff recommends just adding a condition that the structure be used for storage only and not for an additional interior space for patrons of the agribusiness on the site. So at this point, staff recommends approval of the draft resolution approving a variance from the minimum setback requirements of the shoreline overlay district.
Thank you, Dwight. And this one's not a public hearing either, right?
That's
Correct? Yeah.
correct.
Okay. And so at this point in time, does anyone feel like we remember the issue? Is there any discussion that needs to take place, or is somebody ready to make a motion?
Well, could I ask, is the applicant here?
Yes.
Can I ask him a question?
Absolutely. If you guys, if one of you wouldn't mind, when you answer, at least come up to the podium so we can record. But
First
by
of all,
all
could you
means.
close that door?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. Thank you.
I think we were supposed to just ask them to leave instead of closing the door, but that's okay.
If they're not locked.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Yeah.
Currently, what is the building, what's stored in the building currently?
It's just, right now, we just have, we haven't put any of the wine making or stuff that we're going to put in there yet, because we haven't started constructing and we haven't purchased all of the stuff that we'll need to do for the agribusiness. So right now, it's just our own materials that are in there.
So-
Tractor, sprayer
Yeah.
are in there, lawn, furniture, stuff like that right now.
So having the restriction of the building only being storage, is that going to cause any issue with you folks?
It's not our favorite. I mean, I would like it to, us to be, because of where it is and the nature of the river, like, we don't have runoff from crops or poop from animals or anything like that that would affect the creek. And I'm there to make sure that, we're here and think that the overlay, we get it. We don't want to hurt the integrity of the watershed. That's very important. But it's a structure without any sewer or anything in it. So we're happy to maintain that. We would at some point like to be, we probably won't be able to just due to space. We're going to need it anyway because we're going to have restrictions with the state for the tasting room. So we're probably going to just need it for storage anyway. So we're fine with that. It feels a little restrictive, but we're fine with it. What do you?
Yeah, we are already kind of busting out of the seams with the stuff we do have.
Right.
Our current garage is full of equipment.
Yeah.
All the other barns are full of equipment. There really is no other space. So now when we start adding, my concern is the tasting room, our processing area of that tasting
Yeah,
room
we're gonna have
is
to
going to
add
be a
some
little small because of the way this is all set up. So we're going to have to do a lot of
Storage.
transferring equipment back and forth for
Yeah.
harvesting and fermenting and bottling and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of that's going to have to be stored in that. So I've been looking at ways of, do we try to heat a little spot of it? You have to keep it above,
Yeah.
freezing at least. That's a little low. But so we're looking. We know it's going to be full. How's that?
Yeah.
We don't have.
I guess with knowing that, anytime you put restrictions on somebody's property or the use of their own property and their own buildings, that's a tough sell for me, but I think it's a reasonable
Yeah, we're going to use it for
compromise.
storage.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
reasonable compromise.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And then I don't think this matters or anything, but part of our process when we purchased it, just so that where we were kind of confused, the final inspector actually did sign off on the location of the of the,
We thought we did all our homework.
Right.
In advance.
You know,
yeah. So even though there's a picture of where it was supposed to be, the last inspector did sign off and knew exactly where the creek was.
well,
So,
yeah,
so we thought we did our due diligence, so,
I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
And I understand.
okay, thank you.
At least, I'm glad that the building is being saved. I
Yeah,
know-
it's-
I know at one
It's a great
time there was
building.
some discussion of removing it, and I'm glad that that's not happening.
Yeah, if it were going to hinder the watershed or anything, I get it,
Yeah.
but there's no runoff or anything, it's built up, it's not, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I guess, my only question is that stipulation, would it prevent them, so, they're obviously exploring options on, being able to, instead of setting up each piece of the process at that point in the, production, that it's possible that you're looking at, is there a way we can have some of these things set up in this, barn building, right? I mean, I don't know, but even if they got to that point, it's not the customer's wine tasting, but it is just the equipment set up. Or even like eventually if customers are like, gosh, you know, it's a smaller place, can I see how this is produced? You can't even all of a sudden be like, I'm just gonna walk you back to the part where I process in the barn.
So the idea being, it wasn't, there's floodplain concerns, and so I understand that in a
Yeah.
normal, typical situation, it's really not a problem, but as part of the intent of the shoreline ordinance is to basically reduce the potential harm to life and property, and so it's, I think that would be potentially the concern that we would be running into by having people in the building, other than the property owners. But it's their personal property, so if they want to store things there, then that's a much easier give in terms of the integrity of the ordinance.
Does the variance, remind me, because I always forget, but it follows only the business, right? So if there's a sale, or if they sell their property or the business is no longer operating, the variance is,
I don't think how the variance is currently drafted, that's the case, but we could look at that with the city attorney to add some language to that effect.
I don't need the language added in terms of that. I guess I was just trying to think of something that felt less restrictive, but also maintained the integrity of the shoreline overland ordinance in the longevity of the existence of the property. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't feel like there's a need to have to look into that any further. If they are willing to concede that they can see a reason for it, despite me feeling like it's restrictive, then,
Is the term storage, the definition of storage, how flexible is that?
I mean, that, right,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So it sounds like that requirement of the storage is pretty hard set because of the shoreline piece?
I think the
Well-
big concern is
Or is
the
that up for
public
us to
entering
discuss?
It's having the
building,
patron,
so,
yeah.
So, I mean, if there were a manufacturing component in that
Sure.
building, I think that is one thing, but if you were bringing people back in there to show them how it's manufactured, and that's where a lot of the concerns are raised. So I think the big concern is public entering the building.
And my guess is that the state would, or even they would have things to say about that anyway, because it's, yeah. So my guess is that this would be nothing compared to maybe what other people would have in terms, if you wanted to all of a sudden have tours of the
Yeah.
process as a part of that, you would have other obstacles to overcome. But is that something that there is, once this variance is passed or approved, there, I guess I just want to make sure that we're not keeping them from having that as an option. You know what I mean? Like, if they were to make it over those hurdles in the future, is this then eventually going to be the restrictive point if that were to be an option?
So the variance would stand as it's currently
Okay.
written, that it's not unheard of in the future for, like, we've had a couple variances, I think, even just in the past year, where we reevaluated things and have
Okay.
granted some additional flexibility, so it's like a revised variance.
Okay.
But at this point, this
Yeah.
was basically the compromise that we could get to hold the integrity of the
Okay.
shoreline.
I think it's a good compromise. It's like a no-brainer variance to support this agribusiness.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'll
for sure.
recommend a motion to approve.
And I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And anyone opposed? All right, so that recommendation will go up to council as well. Thank you. Way to stick with it, guys.
Yeah, can't wait to go.
I'm gonna sit in that storage building and have a glass of wine.
Wait, whoa, no, that's exactly what you're not supposed to do.
You will not.
I got a table reserved already.
In the tasting room.
Yeah.
Okay, so, we have the, next up is the city council report from Councilman Camp, who joins us tonight. And I have one question, but if you guys have other questions, lead with them. Or,
I was just gonna say, I mean, for yourself or any other council members or even my colleagues here who attended the open house earlier this evening, how it went and overall sentiments to the project?
it is connected to my question. So my question was going to be, I did attend the open house, but I was curious if you just have a quick blurb on how, what was the council feedback on the Corcoran Springs concept plan when it came before council last week? Was it last week?
It's been a long,
Yeah.
it's been a long process, folks. It originally came next to Mama G's on the east side. Okay? We had mentioned that it would, if I remember right, Dwight, Natalie, let me know, Kendra, you've been part of it too. It came to us first as a private gated community, which we don't do. So we asked them to go back and look at it. They came back with it on the west side with that dividing road, if that makes sense. Okay? When it came back then, we asked for them to examine and look at it. Is there a way they could do something more of this type community, which I think everybody is liking, but we asked, is any way it could be put into the north side of this property from the commercial property, back then it was the Quick Trip, west to the wetlands, cross the road, and then put more on the north side of that west side property. They looked at that, and it doesn't fit their community type things. They have a central amenity center with a swimming pool, those kind of things, and they'd rather it be all connected on the west side as one big area, and then obviously with this being mixed use, the commercial side being next to Mama G's and those kind of things. So that's where the concept is right now. They did spend a significant amount of time trying to figure out if they could butt it up against the Bellwether property as far as the townhomes and those kind of things, and then it would be subdivided by a road, and then there'd be more properties west of the wetlands on that northwest corner. And it just doesn't go with what they've done in multiple areas of the Twin Cities, where that townhouse area is a community. The access to the, kind of like the Bellwether, the access to the public room, the amenity center, those kind of things, that's what this place in concept is going to have. And they'd rather them all be together and not split by a major road, or not a major road, but a road like that. So that was their comment. And the council and the mayor all understood the concept is there, and then they have began the public meeting. So.
It's interesting reading about this. I mean, it's saying there are 294 market rate unit apartments.
Correct. Not apartments, townhomes.
It says apartment.
They are apartments.
It's an
Are they
apartment.
apartments?
So they tried, so it's a unique product in that they're kind of a mix between traditional multifamily and townhomes, because each unit will have its own private entrance. They don't have like a shared entrance, but it is more of apartments in terms of there's units above and below. And so it is, in terms of our code, it would be considered multifamily, both our zoning code and as far as rentals go. But I think in their mind, the builder's mind, I think that they market them more as a townhome experience, just because they are a little less, the traditional apartment, or more of like, I don't know if you've ever, like a fourplex where you kind of have a little, like, you don't necessarily have a unit share with everybody in the building. You might have your own entrance
Yeah.
to it, so.
It's like a quad.
One of the questions I brought up was the rental agreement and such. The studio was gonna be, if I remember right, $1,300. A one-bedroom was gonna be around $1,700. A two-bedroom would be on the low twos, and a three-bedroom would be $2,700 to $2,900. Rental, if that is correct. I think I remember right. If it's incorrect, somebody please correct me. But again, the amenity center, there's talk of a possible coffee shop, those kind of things in there. There's the swimming pool, interactive, and kind of some pretty neat, I'm gonna call them courtyards between buildings, those kind of things, sidewalks, significant number of trees, landscape, all of those things. I think I'm doing okay. Kendra, everybody, am I doing all right? It looks like the neighborhood.
Yeah.
The point of splitting it up, putting it next to Bellwether all the way across the north side, and having two major roads intersecting it and such, it's not going to make it something that, in my mind, would be safe. To put the development all in one area is, I think, is a better thing, and the commercial on the other side, next to Mama G's and those commercial properties on the other side is a better thing. In my imagination, sitting up there as a planning commissioner and stuff, I would imagine heavily landscaped property south of Bellwether, and then that road going across, and then the commercial being on the other side of the road. But there's no concept of what the commercial would be right now. There's not even a ghost plot or anything of it. It's just all labeled commercial. And then the other question too was, being a 50-50 split, if I remember the numbers right, this residential area would be 38% of the property, and the commercial side would be 62% of the property. So that's another thing that has to be.
Boy, I'd hate to be in the units that are on 30.
It's a choice. It's something that's what they've got to sell. That's what they've got to do. You're right, Commissioner Hargreaves. That's why we had talked about, is there a way to move it north and keep the commercial to the south? That, in their mind and others, it just doesn't make sense. The commercial being on the one side of that main road, and their residence, apartments, townhouses, whatever we're going to call it, is on the west side. Okay.
Thanks for sharing all that.
Thanks.
Yep, it's been in the works a long time. They've done a lot of studies, and then now this group coming in, feel free to contact them. I have spent time in 2 of their communities in the Twin Cities, and they're pretty darn nice. I did not see any issues and those kind of things, but they don't have a major road dividing the two, or dividing the properties up. It's a community.
Yeah.
As they described it, it would be targeted for white-collar folks. They'd also team up with local businesses and make sure local businesses, including our city hall folks, the opportunity to rent with the big industrial building north of the KOA on the west side of 101. That's a pretty significant group for businesses going in there. As far as what's going in there, an opportunity for somebody to live that close to work and use trails, those kind of things to get to work. It's a neat deal. I still don't understand how the price range and stuff
No. I did
makes it work, but I'm not in that position. So.
question for staff, just like that, concentration, how does that support our density milestones?
So it's consistent with the number of units anticipated for the site overall. And it comes back, and we had a density of a little over 10 units per acre on the portion of the site that it's located on. So it's a little bit above the minimum, where of 8 units an acre. And then I think it's actually the residential side takes up more than the commercial side, particularly the residential side will have more upland than the commercial side has. But again, when we did the comprehensive plan, we looked at that site overall, the mixed use portion of the site overall, and dividing that. You're basically expecting that half of that will come in at a density of 8 to 30 units per acre, and then the 294 falls within what that would have been regardless of the footprint of the residential side.
Because once you take out the wetland, it's not really 30 and 60, because there are two big, I mean, they even had them on their poster boards in terms of what's designated as.
Correct, yeah, and they have more, so
that will be between them and the commercial.
correct, yeah. So, and it's basically on the west side of the street extension, I think it's 25 acres. And then technically there's 34 acres on the commercial side, but there's more wetlands on the commercial side. The net is actually more like 16 acres on the east side.
Okay. I do think, so the concerns that I'll just share that I overheard from the meeting, the neighborhood meeting with the developer was traffic. Because they would have, right now, and obviously it has to go through all of the proper channels on the feasibility study, but it has a turn off of County Road 30, which is a concern. And then, secondly was the trail, the location of the proposed trail. There is a resident, but she was able to speak to Dwight, and so she's really made her concerns known. But there's a trail that will run like extremely close to a few residents' backyards. And so that was a secondary concern, but.
Just real quick on that, Chair, that trail has been, it was in their purchase agreement, everything else. And it's set, the setback is such that it is not 6 feet away or anything, it is an appropriate distance away. And we did talk about that on the council of the trail going more over towards 116 and coming north on the Oswald farm, or on the north side of the Oswald farm, and then cut across to that trail. But in my questions and stuff like that, that trail won't move where it is right now in Bellwether. It will stay there. So
It's done.
it's
There's
just a
two.
realignment.
Aren't there two?
Yeah, so there's the Diamond Lake
Correct.
Regional Trail, so that's what is right next to
And that's the
you.
one that's there.
Yeah, that's what's there, and then this is a city trail.
Right.
And staff did take a closer look at, basically the idea being we would like a north-south trail, so the people on the south side of 30 are able to access the open space park and neighborhood park and then Bellwether, as well as the Diamond Lake Regional Trail that runs through there. And so we did actually, after the concept plan, staff took a closer look at the crossing point.
Yes.
And we do think that the crossing point needs to go through this property, that's under, not the Oswald property.
Okay.
So we talked with the developer, we don't really have a trail alignment right now, it's something that's gonna continue to be evaluated
Okay.
as we proceed, but a little different discussion than what was anticipated at the concept plan, just because there was a more, we kind of zoomed out a bit more after that discussion, and my initial hope of just kind of making it go to the west might not make as much sense as I thought.
Okay. Because I remember also when the concept plan for that business park came through, there was a trail.
So there's still gonna be the Three Rivers Trail
Yes.
on the north
Okay.
side.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
north, the question right now is a north-south city
Connected
trail.
to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, because I do think, and also I appreciate the, like, thinking ahead to the future residents. I understand that it's the developer's job to sell that product, but I also am aware that sometimes when there is undeveloped property around it, it's not always extremely clear during a purchase or what have you. It sounds like in this case it would just be a rental agreement. But yeah, some of those units are gonna be between a business park and a County Road 30. And so whatever influence the city has to to build, like, to create, from our partnership side of it, the best product for a future resident. I think that is where our responsibility lies, rather than, you know, I don't know, making it look like other products that might be built around the city but not have some of the same constraints. That's my only comments on that, but otherwise, yeah. I don't know if you have anything to add. Commissioner Hargreaves was there as well, so I don't know if he has anything to add. I was just going to give him the opportunity. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner.
I just had a question on if there's been any activity or updates or anything from Met Council on density requirements, attention on the outer suburbs, sensitivity to agriculture, anything.
The Met Council did release their goals, right, for or not the goals, sort of their preliminary instructions to all of the cities who have to put together their.
Yes, so there's definitely information trickling in. The 3.5 units an acre within the MUSA, that is my understanding, that is final. I believe there still might be some discussion regarding how density is calculated. I know the mayor went to a meeting in January and he's on an advisory board with the Mount Council. And there was some discussion about their implementation guidelines for density. I don't know when that decision is final. But so that there's information coming in.
Good. Thanks.
Anyone else have any questions for Councilman Barron?
Question for you guys, everybody get the compass in your emails?
Yeah, I love that.
Everybody get what's the other one? The newsletter, quarterly in your email. It's on Facebook, it's on everything, but again, that was the thing that I asked, that it goes out to all of our commissions and such, so you should be getting the same kind of updates. January's update came out today, if I remember right, and it was very good. Finding, I think, was first, Trails was second, City Council was third. That's what's going on, so it's kind of cool. If you got any questions,
Well,
contact staff or any one of us.
I do just have one feedback, I guess, or follow-up from the city property tax meeting, as well as it came up again tonight. And there is growing concern from residents that Hennepin County employs the assessors that are assessing the property tax for Hennepin County. And so I know that it has been like that is the way that a number of cities do it, or counties, whatever you have, because people are saying that there is a lack of independent assessors available for hire. But it is just because there are people who are receiving they're not getting responses from the assessor. I know that it came up as a suggestion that you should have the assessor out to your house, and I guess I just want to, no one's listening except for you, thanks for being here. But I do want it stated that you can request that, and it will not be effective until 2 tax years after. So it doesn't matter. It matters, but whatever, they can deem your property is actually only valued at this, but keep paying at this for the next 18 months, and then we'll change it. And so those are issues that are not just like, oh, she's a little bit upset. Those are issues those are like ethical issues to me. You don't operate that way. And
I ask, I don't know how many times, why does it take 2 years for us to start getting city portion of property tax after occupancy? It can take up to 2 years. And the answer I keep getting back is that's the way it's been, that's the way it is. Your comments about Hennepin County tax assessor taxing all of our stuff, I'm not a fan of that, but there isn't another assessor around that has said, I'll take it for this amount of money. It is something that, Dwight or Natalie, correct me if I'm wrong, we are not having to pay for assessors right now as a city.
Correct.
Anymore. Before, we were paying a assessor in the excess of, I forgot what it was, coming out of.
Except for that we are paying for it because residents are just paying greater property taxes.
I'm not gonna twist it or anything, we aren't doing it, we aren't paying for it, but I absolutely agree, my taxes went up miserably, you guys.
I'm I'm just saying the city isn't paying for it, but residents are paying for it through the process of how it's being done.
If we paid it through the city, we would still be paying those taxes one way or another. If we paid it as assessor, we'd still, all of us would still be part of our tax.
Yeah, I think
So it's one or the other.
I understand what he's saying,
Okay.
because if it's a part of the city budget, then as the taxpayers, we're paying to cover
Yeah.
that. But what I'm saying is that I haven't ever seen any numbers presented to me on what that cost of an independent assessor is versus what is the uptick in charges being sent
Yeah.
to residents for property taxes. Because
Yeah.
sure,
We would
we're
need
paying
to-
for
we
it
would
one
need
way
to
or another,
request
but
that.
one way might be significantly less than the other.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Anyway,
say they're
it was just-
equivalent at all.
It was,
And
it
then
came
if
up
you-
again tonight from
if
another
you know
frustrated.
somebody that needs an assessor, please contact staff. They will give that assessor's name, and I've been told that assessor is very responsive to anybody that calls.
I just had someone pulled aside tonight and said they haven't been able to get a response back. So I, and it is the assessor, the one who's at Mama G's. So I don't know. I will just continue to tell them it was more passing along the fact that like this, I want to highlight that this is something that I think needs to be reevaluated. And so I was just making it known. I know it's not a part of your current issues facing city council, but yeah, maybe I'll just save it for an open forum during a city council meeting. Anyway, didn't mean to derail. Do we have any questions regarding the planning project update? Anything that came up? I guess my only question is with that Karenini property, that is the orchard one. Is there any, I know that has been in limbo for a really long time. Is there any, it didn't indicate any update, it said it was still just incomplete. That's kind of just still where it sits.
Sure, yeah, so when that memo was drafted, the application was incomplete, but the applicant has been submitting more application materials
Okay.
as of late, and he, from our understanding, is intending to move forward with the development, and so since then, the application has been made complete, so it's tentatively scheduled for the April Planning Commission meeting right now.
As a
As a preliminary
completed
plat.
application, preliminary plat, okay.
Oh my
I guess the reason I ask is that I just remember the original concept plan a few years ago now, and I feel like that area has changed so much that maybe the comments on that original concept plan were not relevant.
Yes, you don't have to do a concept plan for a straight plat.
Okay,
You can if you'd like to, and we typically highly recommend doing a concept plan for anything that's gonna have a high level of discussion, so if there's known variances,
Okay.
a zoning ordinance amendment, comprehensive plan, something like that. But with what's currently being presented, none of that has been identified quite yet. So there's still always a chance that a variance comes through at the end, but typically it's, for concept plan, it's known variances right out the gate.
okay, that's helpful, thank you. Okay, and then if nobody else has any other questions, then the liaison calendar is on there. Just a reminder that next week, on Thursday at 5:30 is the joint work
Yeah,
session
I'll be there.
with the council. So if you're able to make it, please be in attendance. Anything else you need to know?
5:30 or 5?
That one's 5:30. The Parks and Trails one in March is 5.
Gotcha.
Is there
Or,
anything
that's
that
what we're planning.
people need to know beyond just coming at 5:30?
No, take a look at the work session packet online. That should be available tomorrow afternoon at the latest, if it's not already up. There is advanced homework for everyone, so questions, anything else that will come up during the discussion.
Right, and then if
If
nobody.
you think of it, email it to us.
Yeah, that would be nice.
No, they'll be in the packet.
You can pull up your iPad and
Yeah.
it'll be, because they get.
Okay,
the,
okay.
yeah.
I gotta make a new password for Granicus now.
Oh.
Yeah, right now I can't get in.
Yeah,
don't know
I
what the
can't
hell's
get into
going
it
on.
either, so.
Okay, well, we can get you in touch with, is it City Clerk or IT that helps with that? We
I can do it once I get the password at home.
Okay, well, if you are unable to figure out your password between now and Monday, let us know and we'll get you in contact with someone who can help you on that.
Or, yeah, okay.
We'll be fine.
All right.
You will be good.
If there is nothing else, then we will make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then